Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're in Mishna Pesachim, Parak Tes, Chapter 9, Mishna Yud, Mishna 10. Okay, here we go. Shtei chaburos shenis arvu pischayin. There are two groups, right? When it comes to eating the Carbon Pesach, people have to register on the Carbon Pesach. If you register onto the Carbon Pesach, you can eat from it. If you're not registered on it, you can't eat from it. Now you have Shtei chaburos. You have two groups. Each one had their own Carbon Pesach. Shenis arvu pischayin. They're the animals that they had designated for the Carbon Pesach. They got mixed up. We know it belongs. These two animals belong to each one belongs to one of these two groups, but they got mixed up. We should know which animal it is. Okay, and because we don't know which animal it is, no one can eat from it. Because if you're not registered on it, you can't eat from it. So what do we do about this? Now we are talking about at this point where none of the animals have been slaughtered yet. Two live animals. They were designated as Carbon Pesach. The groups registered on each one of their Carbon Pesach. They got mixed up, and now we're holding before anything is slaughtered. And now we're going to see what you can do to rectify the situation. So the Mishna says, Elu moishchen lahem echad ve'elu moishchen lahem echad. One group takes one animal, another group takes the other animal randomly. Each one takes one of the animals. Echad me'elu bala eitzel elu ve'echad me'elu bala eitzel elu. And then one person from one group joins the other group, and one group from one group joins the other group. Okay, so we got each group takes one of the animals, and one person from each group goes over to the other group. The kalachim oimrim. And now the people of the original group say to the newcomer, Im shalanu ha-pesach hazeh. If this animal that we chose, this is our Carbon Pesach, this is the animal that we originally designated, so we're good. But you're on the wrong one. So yodecha meshuchos mishalcha, you are now hereby removing yourself from the animal that you were part of, which is the other one. But imneisal shalanu, and you shall be included in ours. And he says, yes, he agrees. Then they say, now let's say this animal is yours. This is not the original one of ours, but it's your original one. I mean, you came along with your animal. So then we have withdrawn ourselves from our animal, which is really with the other group. And we will now include ourselves on your carbon. And he says, sure. So by doing this, what do they accomplish? They accomplish that now the animals that they have in front of them are, without question, an animal that they can take from. It's either their original animal, or it is the animal, or they have withdrawn themselves from what was their original animal and brought themselves on this one. The same thing about the person who joined their group. This animal is either his original animal, or he removed himself from his original animal and joined here. Now, the obvious question is, though, why do we need this guy? Why do we need these people to switch groups for? Why can't they go ahead, each group take an animal, and just say, if this is ours, good. If it's not, we withdraw ourselves from the other animal, which was ours, and we join this one. And the other group does the same thing, and everybody agrees. Why do we need to switch a person? And the answer is because there is a separate halacha derived from a pasuk, from a verse, that you cannot leave a Carbon Pesach at any point without an owner. We learned previously that if a Carbon Pesach is slaughtered without an owner, it's invalid. You can't eat from it. However, here's another halacha that says even before you slaughter it, you shouldn't leave it ownerless, meaning you should never have a Carbon Pesach where everybody at one time says, we're off, and you just kind of wait for someone now to pick it up and take it for themselves. You can not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to leave it without an owner. So therefore, they can't just go ahead and say, take an animal and say, well, if this is not ours, then we're withdrawing from our original, because you cannot join a new one until you first withdraw from the original. So at some point of time, right, even if let's say the other group goes and takes it afterwards, but at some point of time, the animal then would be ownerless. So therefore, what you do is you get one person from each group switches over to the other, so that in case everybody else is withdrawing from it, so in case others are withdrawing from it, the original owner, one of the original owners, is still there. It doesn't remain ownerless. Either, like the group says, if it's ours, it's our original one, then they are the original owners. They're not the ones they're not going off of it. The other guy is going off. The guy who joined them is going off. And they say, and if this is your animal, and we're withdrawing from our old animal, so then the point is that since the old animal still has one of the original members to it, it's not ownerless. So therefore, by this, you cover all your bases. Everybody's able to withdraw when they need to, and no animal is going to be left ownerless, because anytime anybody withdraws from one of the animals, one of the original members of that group of owners is going to be there, and he's not withdrawing from it. So it never remains ownerless. Now, next case. This comes a little bit more complicated, but it's really the same kind of situation. It's really the exact same situation, but it just gets a little bit more involved. V'chein chamesh chaburei shel chamisha chamisha. 5 groups of 5 people. V'shal asara asara, or 10 groups of 10 people. And everybody's carbon pesach gets mixed up. Right? So we don't know which group belongs to which animal. All right, so let's stick with the case of 5 and 5, they're a little bit easier. Literally translated, this means each one draws from each group, and they say the same thing. Now, what that means is like this. What that means is that you've got these 5 groups, right? And each one of them originally had a carbon pesach, their carbon pesach, they all got mixed up together. So now they have to try to do the same thing as they did before. So what they're going to do is that, there's going to be the 5 groups are going to be rearranged. But at the end of the day, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have 5 groups who are randomly going to go ahead and take one of the animals. Now, these groups are going to be formed in the following way. That basically, you have to have a member of each one of the original groups in the new group. Meaning the new group consists of, one of the originals, let's say, plus 4 people from each other group. Or say it the other way around. That's how you have to have it. You have to have it. Let me read it to you. In the example of 5 groups of 5 members each, they form 5 new groups, each made of 1 member of the original group. That's what I meant to say. Didn't say it as well as this, but that's the point. Again, you have in the example of 5 groups of 5 members each, they form 5 new groups, each made up of 1 member of every original group. This guarantees that at least 1 original owner of each Pesach is contained in each group. Right? Now, this is what they got now. Don't forget, they have to now do this whole talking about, if it's ours, if it's yours, we withdraw, you withdraw. 4 of each newly membered group then say to the 5th member, random, pick one guy. If the Pesach we have now chosen is your original one, the 4 of us hereby withdraw from our previous offerings and register on yours. Right? That's what they do. They say to him, if you're the original owner here, then we're going to withdraw from the ones that we were part of, whichever one they may be, and we're going to join you. You okay with that? He says, sure. Now, but you can't just stop there, right? Because we don't know who is the original person of this specific animal. The 5th member to whom they said this then joins with 3 of the other members and forms a new foursome, who now declare the same to the remaining member. So they continue until each member has had the declaration made to him by the other 4. This is repeated in all 5 new groups. Because again, since we don't know, we need an original member of each one. So we have to form 5 new groups. The group consists of 1 member from each original group. and each one of them could potentially be the original owner on this animal. And therefore, we have to go through this process through each member. If you start with one person, you choose one person. Here, we got 5 people right here, right? So let's say we start with Richie. 4 of us turned to Richie and said, if this is your original animal, if you're from you're the original owner of this animal, we're withdrawing from ours and joining you. And you say, sure, right? Then the rest of us then turn to Richard and say, if you're the original owner on this animal, right? Then we're going to withdraw from ours and we're going to join you. And he says, sure. Now, of course, you guys have that, and this is what's going to go around the whole group until everybody's covered. And each group has to do this. Once each group goes in and does this, then already it comes out that everybody has at least, if everybody's at least on their original animal, right? Or they have withdrawn, or they have withdrawn from the animals that were theirs and now joined on this animal, and everything's basically starting anew. And if you got 10 groups, you have to make, the original was 10 groups. You got to make 10 new groups. Each group made up of one member of all groups. And as they point out here in the notes, this solution works only if all the groups contain an equal or greater amount of people than there are Pesach offerings, but not if one group has a lesser amount of people than there are Pesachs. For example, if there are 5 groups and one group has only 4 members, as then one offering might be left ownerless for a moment. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I'm exhausted.